Excellent. Brilliant. Okay, so I think everyone's in the room. First of all, things to say. Bonsoir. Bienvenue. For those of you who didn't understand that part, that meant good evening and welcome. I've been practicing that all week, so I'm very proud. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, yes, absolutely, very happy. I am genuinely very happy. I'm super excited to be here. We are so happy that we managed to get Design System Paris 13 instead of London. So this is our first one. So thank you so much to everyone who signed up and for joining us. Please come in, take a seat. You might think, who is that guy? Oh, it's me. I'm Luis. I'm head of product design at YLD, who is the organizer. So I have been hosting and running Design System London in London, can you believe it, for quite a while. And we have we've done one outside of London in the past, and this is our first one in Europe. So we did one in New York many years ago. And then we had a lovely conversation with Ledger, and they said to us, oh, please, 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 can we talk about Design System? And I was like, of course you can. We have space in 2026. And they were like, oh, but what about now? So I said, what about if we come and visit you in Paris? And they said, oui. And here we are. So I am very excited about that. And honestly, I was quite nervous. I'm here with the other organizers, obviously. And we were genuinely a little bit nervous because we realized that we don't know anyone in Paris. We don't know the design system community. We don't know who's going to speak. How are we going to find them? So we had to do a lot of research and we had to do a lot of legwork, and there was a lot of LinkedIn stalking. So if any one of you in this audience recognize my face from LinkedIn, having visited your profile, thank you. Yeah, and obviously because it's the design community and it's been very kind to us, we made some really great contacts and they were super helpful. And lots of different people gave us lists of saying, these are the people you need to speak to, they are great. So we went through that list and we ended up with tonight's speakers, which I am very excited about. And I have to tell you, when we launched our event and we told people about the speakers, and I saw somebody announcing, oh my God, the lineup for Design System London Paris looks amazing. I was like, yes, this is going to be good. And then we came here and we saw this venue and I was like, this is going to be good. So yeah, now it's just up to the evening and I'm very confident that it's going to be great. So, babbling on. So Design System London, basically, as I said, our focus has been London so far, but our goal is ultimately to create a community for people who want to talk about design systems, regardless of experience. So if you are new to design system, you are in the right place. If you have a seasoned design system person who thinks like, there's nothing more I can learn about design systems, you're also in the right place, but you're also wrong because there always is. So this is what we're here for. We have people who have been on huge sort of stages to talk to huge audiences, great experience, and we also have people who are on stage for the first time, and we welcome everyone. So that's our goal ultimately. So yes, without further ado, let's move on. So now that you realize how great we are, I'm going to do a little plug, and I would be shameful if I didn't. So, Design System Awards. So, Design System London has been shortlisted for the best event, and you can obviously already tell why. Come on, like, look around, you know. So, what we would love from you guys, you can do it now because you're confident that it's going to be the best event you've ever been to, or you can do it afterwards when you go like, do you know what, that was the best event I've ever been to. Either way, here is the QR code that allows you to support us and vote for us. Please, please, please. Also, this QR code will allow you to do a whole bunch of other things as well. You can see our previous talk on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. If you feel after this evening and say, that's the kind of community I want to speak to, there is a way to sign up to become a speaker. Or if you feel like that's the kind of event I want to arrange, you can also reach out and become a sponsor. So that's, I think, take us to the agenda of the evening. So we got 4 fantastic speakers with 4 very interesting topics. We're going to go from wide, large, a lot of balancing. Oh, please don't be shy. Come in. We're going to go from large down to the details. So we're starting off really broad, and then after the break, we're going more into the details of tokens and to how to design something specifically. So breath already. Very excited about that. As I said, there will be a break in the middle. As you saw, there was some fantastic food. Maybe you weren't hungry by that time, but by the break time, you're going to be, oh yeah, time to get some more. So that will be available outside. Obviously, the view might not be here because it might be dark, but it'd be a different type. It'd be nighttime and lights, and it's going to be Paris in the evening. Gorgeous. And then after all of these talks, we are going to have a little social mixer at that place, Le Corly, or how, something like that. It's close enough. There will be directions, and yeah, so that we can continue the conversation. Let's see. So, just some logistics. Always, you can't have an event without logistics. So, first of all, code of conduct. Please always keep your language clean. Be nice and kind to each other. Remember that we have all different type of experiences. There are no silly questions. Once we do get to the Q&A session, you can ask whatever you want. Social media, if you're on there, we are. That's how you know we exist. Do follow us on LinkedIn, please. And if you are hashtagging or tagging us, we have the most amazing hashtag, Design System London. We couldn't find a longer one, so we went with what we had. Yes, if you're taking pictures, please post them, tag us, spread the word. We would love that. As I said as well about this amazing QR code, one to rule them all, apart from voting in the awards, you can also ask questions to the speakers. So after each speaker is finished with their presentation, I'll come back up. We'll have a very short conversation. We'll take some quick questions before we move on to the next speaker. And with that, these events that we do are not possible without our organizer and our sponsor. So we're going to have a couple of quick words from both of them. First, I think we're going to go with YLD, if I got this correct. Yes, I do. So I would like to welcome Lottie from YLD, who's going to give us a quick introduction to what YLD is and what we do.
Right. Hello. Ooh. Let me... Okay, good evening, everyone. Really quickly, just going to give you the background on who we are as YLD, the organisers of tonight. So my name's Lottie. I'm client partner at YLD. I look after the partnership between ourselves and Ledger, facilitating all the great things going on. We're really proud to be bringing the Design System London event series to Paris with you all, and big thank you again to Ledger for hosting. Before we get to the talks, I'm going to briefly share a bit about us with you all, what we do as a company and why community is so important to us. YLD turns digital investments into reality by building what matters, delivering with impact, making sure it lasts. Our product design, engineering, and change experts work as one, applying AI where it shortens the path to value. With design at the heart, we bring clarity, put users first, and shape solutions that succeed from the start. YLD has been around for over a decade now, and the community has always played an important role in not only how we've grown as a company, but also how we've made an impact and helped ambitious businesses achieve their goals. We've been at the forefront of the design system movement since hosting our first inaugural DSL in 2017. Not going to be long before that's 10 years ago. Our expertise spans diverse industries, partnering with tech, design, and product leadership to create, implement, and refine design systems that address unique challenges across all sorts of businesses and align with organizational goals. If you'd like more information about our work, our open roles, to learn more about our community events, or just come and have a chat, you can approach myself, Louise. There are lots of YLD t-shirts in the audience that you'll recognize our logo by the end of tonight. So yeah, we're happy to chat. Thanks so much. Enjoy the talks.
Thank you very much. Thank you to Lottie. So before I get Ledger on board, I just wanted to do a quick on-the-spot survey. So Design System London, obviously all you lovely Parisians have turned up this evening. How many of you had heard of Design System London before you saw our fantastic thing on LinkedIn? Do you know what? That is good reach. You already knew, you should know, you're from YLD, so it's a good thing I saw that arm coming up. How many of you had been to a Design System London event? Excellent. Sorry? I think so. There you go, you've seen us on YouTube as well, brilliant. Okay, this is a trick question on purpose, because I should know this. How many of you have spoken at DSL before? There you go. I was expecting one arm, okay. Actually, you as well. Okay, good. I like these stats. Just do a quick stat check before we go. Okay, so now to our sponsor. Thank you so much for having us. Over to you, Carl.
Thank you very much. Well, I just want to say just a quick word. Actually, I'm going to keep on going with the surveys. Like, who has a ledger? Okay. Actually, I'd say a fourth of the audience. Actually pretty good. So it's about the same as Waldy, actually. We're about 10 years old. And my name is Carl Anderson. I run software at Ledger. And Ledger is a security company. And our mission is to secure digital assets. What I call digital assets is essentially crypto assets, right? Bitcoin, Ethereum, all this kind of stuff. And the way we do it is that we actually built an entire new stack to secure your crypto. Because your phones, your laptops, they're great to share information, to produce information, but they really suck at keeping secrets. That's not what they're built for. It's very easy to hack it, very easy to extract whatever value there is inside. So that's why we set off 10 years ago now to actually create a brand new hardware. Uses the same technology as you have in you know, the chips that you have in your credit cards or in your passports, the secure elements. It's exactly the same technology that we revved up to the max, built an OS on top of it, an SDK, so that any app developer can actually develop an app on top of it. Then we started building software along it to onboard your device, set it up, then manage your portfolio. And then once you have your keys that are securely stored into that device, obviously you want to be able to use them, so connected to the world, all this safely and securely. So that's what we've been up to the last 10 years. And now you might be wondering, okay, but why are you hosting a design system meetup when I'm saying all this, right? Well, that's because so security is the key for your digital assets, because you're not storing information, you're storing value. So if you lose security, everything goes, and that was the basic. And we solved that one over 10 years ago now. Now, the next step is really about being able to use it. And if ever you've used crypto, you'd see that the UX actually in the space is really a challenge. It's actually quite broken, quite clunky. And so in the last 5 years, I'd say, we really focused into making it smoother, easier, faster to actually be able to use your devices, use your crypto keys to buy NFTs, move money around across the world and across borders via stablecoins and buying Bitcoin and all that lovely jazz. So that's what we've been up to. And especially last year, it was a huge year for us because we actually shipped our new devices, Ledger Flex, which is that one, which is a touch-enabled, looks very different from our earlier device, which was the Ledger Nano X or the Ledger Nano S, that looked like USB sticks, right? Those are touch-enabled, great touchscreen, more screen real estate. So that was the first step into making a smooth UX. And then the focus after that was really the software, making it look nicer, easier, better connectivity with your devices. And that's what we've been doing the last few years. So that all launched in 2024. There's also another thing that launched in 2024. It's actually those offices. We opened those offices last year, and really the idea and why we invested so much in creating a place as beautiful. And I'm going to say that without any doubts, this is the most beautiful looking basketball court in Paris, like for sure. All right. And so the reason we did this is that we wanted this venue to be a tech hub so that communities could come, we could share about our experiences into building, well, better UXs, better products, better technology. So that's it. This is what we're going to do, and that's why we're delighted to have the Design Systems London in Paris. Thank you so very much, Louis, for organizing and for coming here. Thank you so much for all of you guys for taking the time to come and listen to fabulous speakers. And have a lovely night. Let's get the party started.
Yes. Thank you very much. So I'm thinking, how do you do that, what Carl was just talking about? Wouldn't it be great if someone came along and just told you all about that? They will be. See? Just hold on. So, balancing act, building a scalable yet intuitive design system. This is a first on many levels. First of all, it's the first time we're in Paris. We got that already. It's going to be the first time we have 3 speakers on stage at the same time. I'm looking forward to this. They are very confident. I'm confident. It's going to be brilliant. Can't wait. And it's also the first time that we have product engineering and design together on stage talking with design systems. I'm one of those people who think that design system is actually a trinity, a beautiful trinity of design, product, and engineering. If you want to run a design system that works really well, you need all of those 3 entities to work together. So, without further ado, let's see the proof of that by welcoming all 3 speakers onto the stage. Applause, applause. Let me get you some microphones. There you go. There you go. Okay, so. And then one for you. Everyone's mic'd up. Let's go.
Hello everyone, we're thrilled to be here in the first DSL Paris to welcome a newcomer in the family of design systems that we call Lumen. Lumen is Ledger's design system whose creation started around 1 year ago. And we've just entered an alpha phase, which means that we have the first prod-ready components that are about to ship. As you might imagine, in this whole year, we've learned a lot. We failed, we faced challenges, but also learnings. And what we would like to propose to you tonight is a topic around the tension between scalability and the user experience of the design system, meaning how can you make a design system that is really easy to use for its primary users, who are the designers and the developers using it every day, but at the same time, keeping this while you are growing to a lot more components, to growing complexity. And so we started to feel this tension and we wanted to focus our presentation around this. But first, presentations. Abla?
Yeah, hello everybody. My name is Abla. I'm a software engineer at Ledger. I've been at the company for almost 4 years now, and I've joined the design system journey 6 months ago. Super excited to be here and super excited to share a bit about our journey so far.
Hello everyone, I'm Laurine. I'm senior product designer and joined Ledger 1 year ago to kickstart the initiative. And I'm very happy to be here to share with you our journey to bringing dev, design and product together.
And I'm Benoît. I've been at Ledger for more than 4 years, building hardware as a product. And I joined the design system team at the beginning of this year, 2025. Okay, let's get started. So why should we invest in a design system? This question might ring a bell for some of you, because we know that many design systems start internally by driven developers, driven designers who realize the value, but then they have to go on and convince the whole organization about why we should do one, proving it with metrics and so on. But that wasn't the case at Ledger, because we are lucky that we have quite a long-standing design culture that made our managers, product organization, and even XCOM members already pretty sensitive to this topic. So the question was not why should you invest, but why haven't you started already? There was this eagerness to get started as soon as we could. And so this is around 1 year ago when Laurine joined us, first on the team, and this was quite long before a dedicated engineering team was built for the project.
So yes, as Benoît said, I joined Ledger 1 year ago to build a design system that will serve our 8 designers, 150 engineers, something like 100 projects. So when I arrived, I took the time to deep dive inside all the legacy library and keep in mind all the team has its own library at this time. And my goal was really to understand all the structure of this library and also all the library, how they work all together, and also all the pain points we have. After that, I also took the time to interview each product designer to understand how they work with this library and also how they work with all the design team inside the design team. And after that, that quickly becomes clear that the communication between dev and dev was limited. Sorry. And that's why I spend a lot of time to analyze workflows, identifying gaps where we can improve, make improvement to improve the collaboration between teams. And after a few weeks of deep diving inside all of that, I started to create the strategy for our new system, covering Figma library strategy, but also design tokens and components, but for the moment without any tech constraint, because at this time, design system team didn't have a dedicated engineer yet. But we knew from the start we need to support several themes, light and dark mode, but obviously, but also a few Ledger products with their own identity and also with their own complexity. Because we have to cover in the same design system an e-commerce website, an academy, a B2C product, mobile and desktop, but also B2B tools. And on top of this complexity, we have also to cover and the challenge to have web and native experience is the same design system. But the first batch of design token and component were already anticipated this complexity, but were design-centric at this step. And that's why when Abla arrived in the team with a more how to say that, a more technical approach. We are facing some issue. I show some issue I didn't anticipate it yet, and also the possibilities or risk of low developer adoption if we keep the vision exactly like that. So that's when we start a new phase, bringing dev, design, and product together to align on our constraints. So I let Abla explain you why and how we decide to focus on the developer adoption as the next step.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you so much, Laurine. So this was our next challenge. So given the complexity of products at Ledger and the complexity of Ledger as a company overall, teams were mostly working in parallel, so there was not a lot of communication between teams, not a lot of collaborations. And that was actually a challenge for us, because what we wanted is another system, another model, another dynamic, basically, with Lumen at the center and the teams collaborating all together. So Lumen would be this shared layer that will help the teams collaborate and work more closely. And we knew that we could never get there if we don't have the developers came and joining us. So we needed to gain their trust. We needed Lumen to be something that the teams would need, something not obstructive. We needed them to want to use it, not because they were taught so, but because they need to, because it's helpful. And it will make them deliver fast, and it would not be definitely not obstructive or blocking anything that they couldn't do. And that was not even it, because today at Ledger and in the ecosystem overall, we have really high engineering standards when it comes to quality, scalability, everything. So we do have a lot of tools out there, and it's really hard today to give a system to the developers and convince them to use it with all the tools they have out there. So not only that, also at Ledger we have a lot of teams using different tools, having different setups. So we needed to build something that would fit into different setups and work for a lot of developers with a lot of expertise in front end. So that's when we started like this architectural phase in which we tried to take the time do some surveys, see what would fit most of the teams and what would work for most of them. And yeah, it took us time. It took a lot of research. And at the end of the day, we did make a lot of technical decisions. We're not going to go over them all today. And especially it goes with our need and what our teams uses. So that's not the objective today. The objective is to tell you like these decision has an impact. And one of these decisions we have took is to use Tailwind as our starting strategy. For those who doesn't know, Tailwind is like this utility-first CSS framework that actually helps you style your components pretty easily. And at its core, like behind, it's just CSS. So yeah, and that has an immediate impact on all the work that Laurine has been doing. It was so, the tokens that she built over 6 months were great, but were more design-centric. So they did not really speak to me as a developer. You can see that on the left side. And I'm a Tailwind user for a while, so I know this will not be converted easily because it doesn't really match taxonomy of Tailwind or anything. So we did need to refine them a lot. So we did do some sessions together, tech, product, and design. We tried to create the shared language between all of us that would make sense to everybody without compromising the designer experience, because that was really crucial as well. So you can see here pretty simple examples. We try to use more meaningful keywords, simpler keywords that would speak for everybody. So our semantic tokens today really have meaning. While seeing this, you might think this is a simple task. You might think, wow, that's easy, but trust me, it was not. It was like parents trying to name their baby, but it has like 100 siblings and a lot of color palettes. And yeah, it was a tough task, but we succeeded. And I think it's pretty satisfying because you can see in the next slide, you know, how easy it is for developers today to use these tokens. You have here, you know, like what they see in Figma and the mapping directly. It's exactly the same thing you're going to see. So we were pretty proud of this. I think we established very great developer experience and designer experience, and we had like primarily good feedbacks. And you can see here, you have all the our tokens, you know, like a semantic tokens. We don't expose any primitives or like that. So easy for developers to go from Figma to code, and that was the main objective. So that was the big dilemma, and I think we nailed this one. We're pretty happy with the result. It was pretty good, but that was not all, because how can we guarantee that this link stays in time? How can we guarantee that what you see in Figma is exactly what you see in the code? And that's when we privilege something called Figma REST API. I think some of you already know this. So this is the tool we use to fetch everything that Laurine has been doing in Figma on her foundation library, the design tokens, the symbols, the icons. And we fetch that, so whenever she actually makes a change in the foundation library, we capture that immediately in the code. So we're pretty sure we are in sync. And we never, over time, it's never going to lose this connection. So this was really important for us. And we knew with that, we built a system that is scalable. It is robust, it is capable, and it's able to grow over time. That was important because a design system is built to be grown. We need, at first, it was really important for us to make something that is able to grow, something scalable, but at the same time, easy to use. So that's basically the whole thing that we're trying to say today. And this is how we actually managed to do that. And we're not here to tell you this is how you should do it. This is only our vision of it and what we succeeded to do so far. So this actually, this communication between Figma and code, having one source of truth, was really crucial because it had also impact on our next steps. And one of them is actually documentation and how we decided to document our design system. And I will let Benoît tell you more about that.
Yes, thank you, Abla. Indeed, documentation is key when trying to bridge developers, designers, product, but also external users of the design system, because ultimately we would like to open our design system also to the exterior and open contributions. So when it came to documentation, we surveyed some, design documentation tools. We knew that developers were going to use Storybook anyway, and so after some study, what we decided to do is to gather all documentations, including for designers, including for products and everybody needing that into Storybook. We think it was the good decision because it's really centralized, it's reactive, it's automatically updated, we have interactive playgrounds, so it has many advantages. It can mean a small learning curve for designers because it's not a tool that they might be used to at first, but thanks to stories and customizability, customizing Storybook to make it like an easy homepage to review and agreeable components is actually pretty easy. So that's what we did, and we have a centralized documentation. We are quite a small team, as was said at the beginning, trying to address a large number of engineers and people at Ledger. So when it comes to frugality and optimization choices, we think this really helps. So you can see on the right, address field input. It's a quick example of stuff that we can put in place. So this is a component documentation. When you click on it, you land directly on an overview, which is very easy for anyone to understand, non-developers, designers, and everybody. And then if you're a dev and you need some doc, you just tap the tab implementation, and then you will find everything you need code-wise. Speaking of components, let's take a very simple example of a component that we call address input. It's a kind of specialized text input in which you are going to paste a crypto address. So this could be Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana address. It's going to run some formatting. You can tap the QR code icon to scan with your phone's camera and so on. And when So we talk about foundations, now we are reaching the component level, and the component level is really where everybody is gathering because, everybody doesn't need to deep dive into the foundations below. So for us, it was really important to nail the experience and the ease of use of also components. So starting with designer API, meaning Figma props, for example, we've standardized them, so we have consistent naming that we drew inspiration from several design systems. We have now pretty a stable way of describing APIs. The advantage of that is that anybody wanting to propose a new component can right off the bat have something that's pretty consistent and high quality when it comes to the design props. But there is a challenge because the developer view of the same component, the dev API of the component, might need to change because the practices are different. Because you don't describe for a designer the same thing as you would do for a dev. For example, a drop-down can become a boolean, a placeholder. The states can change and are expressed differently. And so we didn't want to degrade either the designer experience or the developer experience to put everything on the same foot, because we think it's important to preserve these specificities. So the way we dealt with that, with this delta between the descriptions, is by simply using Code Connect. So you can see on the left a bigger example of some of our UI. You can find the address input at the very top, where the user is expected to paste an address here from the clipboard before performing a transaction. And when you inspect this specific field in Figma, you have a code snippet on the right. And what's interesting is that it's completely reactive to the variant that's currently active and to all of the props that are currently being interacted with. So the developer can know confidently that, okay, this component that looks like that and has these props, I will describe it like that in code, and I can just copy-paste the snippet. So that's an overview of how we dealt with harmonization and unification of the systems for everyone. And now I will let Abla talk a little bit about how all of that can scale to growing number of components and growing complexity.
Yeah, thank you, Benoît. After we've seen how we connected the code to Figma, let's dive in a bit into the code. How did we actually code our components? Given that we started with a very small engineering team and we wanted to deliver because people wanted to see the design system, the new components, and everybody is eager to start testing it and using it. So I would say we're pretty lucky. We're pretty lucky today because building components from scratch is not isn't hard anymore, because we have a lot of tools out there. We have open source resources. We have people who've done a lot of research and work to build something that we can use. So I personally believe that reinventing the wheel at every step doesn't really make sense, and that's actually was a game changer for us. So for us, it was headless components and headless library that we kind of leaned on to be able to deliver fast. And headless components, for who doesn't know, are just components that are not opinionated when it comes to styling, so you can style them however you want. They are functional, they are scalable, they have accessibility, they have everything. They're open source, so you can take the code, you can update it, change it however you want, and you can move really, really fast when you rely on these kind of libraries. So we're not gonna actually advertise any of them. We just wanted to tell you, do your research. Don't reinvent the wheel. Don't do everything from scratch, because you can. But why waste time while others have done it and they've posted it and it's open source and you can use it and you can actually bring something to the community. You can open issues. You can help build it even better, make it even more scalable, make it evolve. And that's what we really believe in that. With that being said, it doesn't mean, at least for us, use it everywhere. We need to be smart about it. So we do have a couple of components that are pretty specific to our products, to our needs. So we did build them from scratch. For instance, the address field input that Benoît has shown you, it's something we build ourselves because really specific to our needs, our products. So here I want to emphasize on the fact you need to balance both. Efficiency, delivery, but at the same time, do not lose your brand. Do not stay linked to your product. And that's how we actually managed today to deliver our first batch of components with a really small engineering team. So I was alone at some point, then I have someone joining me, and recently I had someone joining the team, which is great. But we really were really smart about it, and we tried to take advantage of what we have out there in the community, basically. And this is how we managed to build our first batch of components using our new shared language.
Okay. I think we... Next slide, yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thanks, Abla. So to conclude, all these choices were guided by only one goal: create a new culture of collaboration. Because today, that is the main problem we have at Ledger. Each team has the habit to work alone, and as the company is growing, we are facing inconsistency in our product and in our user journey. So the design and development team and product team is also growing day by day. So we are at a turning point where we need to learn to work differently and more efficiently. And this change begins with Lumen.
Yeah, thank you everybody for listening. Thank you. Please don't hesitate to scan the QR code. You can go directly to our storybook. You can see how Lumen looks like today. You can also follow the journey to see how Lumen will look like in a year, for instance. We think it will look very, very cool. And again, thank you so much. That was all for us today.
Thank you very much, guys. You did really well. Well done. Fantastic on many levels, not just topic-wise, but also the fact there were 3 of you. I'm very impressed by that. There's a barcode here to scan, obviously. For those of you who scan this code, this is where you go to... Thank you so much. This is where you go to the questions. I am not checking my messages in the middle of the talk. I do have the questions right here, so apologies. Before we do that, do we have anyone brave enough to ask a question live in the audience? Some nervous smiles, thinking maybe I should do it, should I do it, should I not do it? While you think about that, here we go, 2. Do you see? If you wait long enough, there they come. Let's start with this gentleman over here, and then I'll come to you in a second. What is your question?
First of all, thank you very much for sharing all your journey. Now that your system has been built and that you have something functional, one of the key questions is how you're going to roll out this design system to existing products. Do you have a strategy for that?
Great question. That's a great question. Well done.
Yeah, great question indeed. We do have a strategy for that, and Benoît already said that we are actually building our new feature using the design system now. So that's why we delivered the first batch of components. It's actually a challenge task. We're not going to ask the teams to, replace all, because we just can't. We're going to be programmatic about it. We're going to, whenever we're building new features, whenever we're revamping new pages, we're going to use a new design system. All new designs on Figma are going to be built using the design system, and that will be step by step. So we're not immediately going to be making drastic change. Hey, everybody changed everything. That's not possible. We have a lot of projects, a lot of teams. So we believe over time, because we do have a lot of revamping to do, we want to evolve a lot our user experience, as Carl said earlier. So that's the strategy. We hope like in 3 or 4 years, we'll have the design system everywhere. And that's basically the strategy, yeah.
Great. Do you want to say anything to that? No, in that case, I would steal your mic. Hang on, we got a gentleman at the far back. Oh, you get to listen to me breathe. Terrible. Here you go. What's your question?
Thank you. Thank you very much for your talk. I was curious to know more about the way you build the design token architecture, especially when you mentioned how with the Tailwind integration. Are you like today one align between variables in Figma and your design token in code in terms of taxonomy, or are there like specificities in Figma or maybe somewhere else?
So they are exactly the same. We took Tailwind as a technology. We did not take it to use it out of the box. We really built our own configuration on top of Tailwind. We have our own utilities. So when you saw in the video, when you tap BG, you only have our tokens that appear. You don't have the primitives. You don't have what Tailwind exposes, because Tailwind does have their own foundation library. They use CSS tokens under the hood as well. We did not extend the Tailwind configuration, we overridden it. So we built everything ourselves. We just used the technology, the tool, with our own tokens. So it's exactly the same. Everything you see in Figma, it's exactly the same in the code.
Okay. So did you, and I'm just curious to know if you framed this architecture all together with engineers and designers to make sure that you're aligned, or is it something different?
Yeah, definitely. Like at the beginning, as you see the tokens, like Laurine did not really have that constraint to actually use, because if you use Tailwind, you do have to follow their taxonomy, and that's what we did. We changed our tokens to follow more than taxonomy, so we use background. It used to be surface, for instance. Surface doesn't mean anything in Tailwind, but background does, so we use background. We use text for the color of the text. We did follow their naming conventions, and we use our own. So that's how we actually managed to keep using Tailwind. Even if you go in the documentation, you will exactly see it, but it's just like you tap the utility and you have the auto-completion with everything we built for the developers. So they don't have to look for the color for like 200 colors. We have, I think, 20 colors. And also we have colors for backgrounds, colors for text. As Tailwind has one color palette shared everywhere, and we did not want that. So we have our colors for the backgrounds, our color for the text, for the borders, etc.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Oh, we got one more. We take one last question. Oh, I'm loving the fact that there's so many. Go for it.
Hi, and thank you for the presentation. About the headless components, I was wondering, is that linked specifically to the Tailwind framework that you're using, or have you seen this outside of the Tailwind context?
So the one we use does use Tailwind, honestly. And like Tailwind is kind of becoming the standard when it comes to styling. Like we just had an intern in our team. In the interview, I realized he doesn't know CSS. He was only writing Tailwind. He did not know border radius. He only know the keyword rounded. And that is really becoming standard. A lot of the headless libraries actually use Tailwind and encourage you to use Tailwind. But you use other styling strategies, and you can find them. But the ones we use are really Tailwind driven indeed. And that was a choice we took because I believe personally that Tailwind is becoming the new standard on how you style your components. It's really easy. We have a lot of back-end engineers at the company that does front-end, and I think it suits best for everybody. It's pretty easy to use, honestly. And it's just CSS. So, yeah.
Great.
I hope that answers your question.
Excellent. Thank you. That's all the questions we have time for this team. So massive applause to the Ledger team. Brilliant. Well done. I'll take this. next one. Okay, so from one large, big collaboration to another. So design system about scaling. So we obviously think of digital stuff. But what about if you introduce another level to the digital? I know you're thinking, what does he mean by that? But I'll tell you who can explain this, our next speaker. So I would love to welcome, we're going to talk about scaling design, connecting digital, industrial and services from end-to-end experiences. Please welcome Estelle.
All right, guys, I'm Estelle. I'm working at Thales for quite a long time, but just for knowing, I'm managing the design system right now, and today I want to tell you a story. How we scale global design at Thales to address our very wide portfolio. From land to sea, air to space, Thales is a big French company full of engineers and originally not very familiar with design culture. Mainly focusing on B2B and offering products and services for governments, banks, airlines, airports, and so forth. And designing for such a diverse landscape is quite a challenge. But scaling design in a group like Thales is even more complex. And yet, this is exactly what we do. We embrace holistic and systemic design, connecting the dots between digital, industrial design, meaning objects, and services for crafting end-to-end experiences true to Thales and true to our end users and customers we design for. And what's a better way to illustrate this than by looking something we all know? The passenger experience. Think about it. From the moment you book a flight, your journey begins. And so many things, so many steps happen before takeoff. But what truly makes the difference between a great experience and a bad one? Short answer, by leveraging every single touch point of the journey. To illustrate this, we are going to dive into a scenario called The Joy of Journey with Jane, our protagonist. Jane booked a long-haul international flight, and we are going to follow her from getting to the airport, passing through the security and border checks, to enjoying in-flight entertainment. And nothing is left to chance. But building this kind of journeys requiring 25 plus Thales solutions. So that's a lot. Meaning that for managing to deliver this kind of end-to-end journeys, of course, you have to make a step-by-step job. And of course, very important point, you have to make a true collective effort. So meaning that you have to embed design teams, product teams, business, marketing, and so forth, engineering team, everyone is on the same page. So, you have here the journey with the main pain points, the main touch points, and also the storyboard. Everything has been done by our team, and we are going to dive into that journey. Sometimes we will fly over the steps, and sometimes we will dig deeper, all right? Before a departure, Jane can anticipate the visa requirements and border checks. Basically, that will be super helpful to avoid long waiting times and endless queues, right? Jane is at the airport and she can check in a luggage by herself using facial recognition, and a bag will be tracked with an air tag service, for example. Then comes the security checks. When you have civil agents, civil aviation agents ask you to put your luggage on the belt and removing all the electronics, all the liquid, and so forth. This step can be very intrusive, and if you are running late, I'm pretty sure you will be super stressful, right? So, about this journey. This is super important. What we are going to make here as team is to deliver an end-to-end journey which is super seamless, fluid, and serene for all the passengers. And of course, delivering that, it's a journey itself. So we conducted user interviews, field observations, everything that we needed to uncover insights and transform them into impacts, right? So, what's super important is, okay, you made research, you made user interviews, and so forth. But the user experience and the design must reflect all that work. And this is super challenging. So basically, security checks is really critical within the flow. And every detail matters. Synergies, visual cues, shapes, everything needed to guide the passengers and support the agents. And the Thales design signature had to convey something we called a peaceful design, with gentle lines, rounded edges, soft textures, soft colors, everything is crafted to reassure. And security checks is about passing through, right? So we looked at signal of fluidity, and we added some aerodynamics shapes, added some wavy stickers, and also we used a continuous pencil line. And here, sophistication doesn't come from accumulation, but from precision. And every finish is inspired by connected objects from our daily life, transforming security equipment into a functional companion and reinforcing hospitality. The brand expression plus the holistic systemic approach connects services, industrial design, meaning objects, and digital together. And breaking silos is really a key point. Because when you enhance the global journey, the global design, yes, it enhances every single step, but the entire journey can have more additional impact because, for example, a designer working on dedicated product can sync with other designers and adding more values and limiting the frustration for the users and having something more continuous. And yes, this is super important to have this in mind for reducing the user's friction. Since Jane is on international flights, she arrives at immigration checks. And sometimes you have an agent and sometimes it's not the case. It could be fully automated. Let's say it's automated. And so Jane is using a kiosk with facial recognition and she can put a passport for scanning. And actually, if you already took the Eurostar to London, you already experienced Thales check for the immigration. Same tech. Jane is finally on board. She will soon enjoy in-flight entertainment and so forth. But imagine one sec, you get to your seat and nothing works, not the power sockets, not the screen, and you have 12 hours ahead of you because it's, I mentioned, a long international flight. You get the picture. Super, super frustrating, right? Yes. Hopefully, nothing is left to chance. You have people from the crew or maintenance guys who can make the maintenance between flights. So avoiding to have something not okay for your seat, for example. And yeah, there are also other solutions bringing connectivity on board, like streaming offers, for example. And the cabin crew can activate Netflix or Spotify in a dedicated cabin class directly via an app. And all of these steps are just a sneak peek. We could keep telling Jen's story in more details or even switch to another protagonist of our story, of our system. For example, the pilots, the cabin crew, the air traffic controllers, and so forth. Many, many other profiles. But every protagonist has a role to play in our story because everything is interconnected if you like to have an end-to-end journey going smoothly, right? So when we say that, we have to see the passenger's point of view, because this is important. They don't see the systems. They live journeys, meaning that this is our duty to reveal all the moments of truth and enhance the entire journey. Behind that, yes, holistic and systemic design is what makes it truly seamless at the end. And guess what? At Thales, we have plenty over iconic journeys like this. So we have the passenger experience, yes, but we have also the helicopter pilot experience, the citizen experience, the soldier experience, and many, many more. And over the past 5 years, we've been building and structuring global design at Thales around these iconic journeys. So, how we scale Thales Design Continuum and this global thing? First, of course, holistic and systemic design. But we have to integrate it from the innovation perspective to product. Then we have our multifacets design system to industrialize and bring design and brand consistency across digital, hardware, and journeys. Last but not least, you have to spread a strong design culture across the company. And at Thales, we have various design profiles, UX, UI designers, industrial designers, industrial objects. We have service and strategic designers, and even human factor specialists. And for us, design is definitely more than a role. It's a mindset, and it's global, creative, collaborative, and human-centered. Even though conducting creative and design process is done by true designer at Thales. This is a real point, very important. We insist on that. Our ambition is to craft signature end-to-end experiences. Yes, true to Thales, true to our users and customers. And it's powered by our unified multifaceted design system with Fusion, Quantum, and Matters. The Thales design system, which embeds the three parts, Fusion, Quantum, and Matters, is at the core of our strategy to align our teams and deliver great experience at scale across digital, objects, and services, of course. And each part is rooted with Thales brand, values, and purpose. And it carries our design DNA. This is truly Thales. Fusion helps to model and optimize end-to-end experiences. Our teams can access Figma libraries to define journeys, blueprints, and storyboards. We embed also some Gen AI tools in order to generate the storyboards that I just showed you before. And we use pre-styling stuff in order to have consistency. With Fusion, Thales teams are super aligned and motivated because it gives a purpose at scale and bring clarity to the teams. It empowers storytelling, and this is really important. Our sales teams are using those materials to advocate what we do to customers. And even we provide some materials directly on portfolios, and the customers can take it and advocates to their partners afterwards. And even today, I share the passenger experience with you, even though I haven't worked on it properly. So meaning, yes, this is a super powerful tool for storytelling. Then we have Quantum, our digital design system. It provides a design to dev continuum supporting the delivery of both corporate and super business-focused applications, like air traffic management, for example. As you expect, our challenge is to manage flexibility between corporate app and business one. And at some point, we have to put the cursor on the brand, fully spread if we have a corporate app, and less branded if we have something more business like the air traffic management. We have to be more subtle. And finally, we have Matters. Matters is about hardware. And we're capitalizing on the finest industrial design cues with, for example, components in terms of LEDs, screws, reusable part that we can have, which is based on human scale interaction, like the hand. With the physical world, you can't componentize everything. You can just componentize what's relative to hands or human interaction in terms of scale. So, for example, we share buttons, switches, pressure pads, potentiometers, many stuff. And more importantly, it comes with design pattern guidelines for explaining how to create a dedicated design language true to Thales, but true to the domain it should serve. Because designing for the passenger experience is quite different than designing for the soldier experience. And for the passenger, the code could be, yes, seamless by design, creating a serene and fluid journey. For defense, it's not the case. It will be life-critical and designing something for mission success and preventing human loss. So, not the same kind of codes. As such, this is super important to adapt the design language accordingly, but still by maintaining something which is true to Thales in terms of design, brand, and user experience. And this is done with Thales design system for the consistency part. At Thales, holistic, systemic, and scalable is our design philosophy. Holistic and systemic as it connects the dots between digital objects and services, enhancing every single touch point of the journey, considering all the users and every interconnection. And scalable as we bring this mindset to the entire company, powered by our industrializable practices, such as the design system. At Thales, design leads the way. One Thales, one design, one system. That's how we create end-to-end signature experiences, true to Thales and true to our users and customers. Thank you.
I borrow yours. Oh, there you go. You are hogging it. Sorry. Thank you so much. That was fantastic. Do we have any brave people with a question? Oh, we have a brave person. Brilliant. What's your question, sir?
Hi. Thank you so much for the presentation. I am interested about the consistency parts. So you mentioned design system and some hardware design guidelines. My question is, which one came first, and if you have built one to another consistently?
Oh, that's a great question. Quantum came first because at that time in 2021, the top management said, "Okay, we give you some budget, but we'll see you at the end of the year with good stuff. Yeah, okay. So it was more efficient to start by building digital, because physical, you know. So we came first with Quantum. And we had something very, very flat and web stuff, styling. So it was not adapted for materials and hardware. So what we have done with Quantum in first generation was a little bit too web-oriented. But we caught the attention of the top management for pushing the thing further. So yeah, then we started Matters, but I think we started Matters like 8 months after Quantum. So it was not at the beginning, but the top management was super excited about what we have done. So they said, okay, you can try to do something on the hardware part. But at the beginning, they were not super, how to say that, convinced about the hardware part. They said, yes, digital, it's good, but hardware, I don't know why we should do that. So we had to make some demonstrations at that time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? Yes, a gentleman in the back again. Just bear with me. There you go.
It's a continuity of the same question, but so stop.
I can hear you.
No, it stopped. Next step is, did the hardware part reverse something that changed the digital part?
Yes.
That's good.
Yes, because what I've showed you at the end with the video is the signature that we would like to push. But our industrial designers were like, okay, it's too web-oriented. We will try some stuff, and after that, we will try to integrate into the hardware some screens. So this is the digital stuff that I showed you. It's the new rationale of what we tried with our industrial designers. But yes, they were more subtle in terms of design cues. And I think they raised the bar of what we should get at the end. So yes, but the Thales design system is made of 3 parts, and everyone is really close from each other. So meaning that we can move forward together.
Excellent, thank you. Do you have any more questions? Yes, we do. One last question. There we go. What's your question?
Thank you for the presentation. I have a question about how you proved the efficiency of your design system. Maybe some business metrics that show that it was really effective for the business stakeholders.
Okay, so actually what we had before Thales design system was super crappy. So it was obvious for everyone that what we have done was clearly better. But in terms of what we enhanced for our business units, it's about, of course, reusability and speed, but also the fact that we have some customers saying, wow, this is super, wow, Thales made some improvements. So this is also qualitative feedback. But in terms of metrics, yes, reusability and speed, but also the fact that we reached the overall company in terms of adoption. So today we have 200 plus projects using Quantum, and if we look the over part of the design system, it grows a lot every day. So meaning that we have adoption.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent, thank you so much. And thank you to you, Estelle. Brilliant, a big applause for Estelle. Thank you. There we go. Oh, they are so good at the back. Look at that magically just appear. Okay, so we are going to take a break, the one I promised earlier, with food and drinks. And then when we come back, we have 2 more very fantastic talks. In the meantime, if you have any questions or if you want to go and vote for those awards people I've heard are really great, please do so. Let's get that door and then let's go and have some drink and food. Okay, so we are ready for our next talk. We all know that building design systems can be a bit of a journey. Some people might call it an odyssey. Do you know what? I'm so good at these segues. I'm just like, where am I getting it from? It's almost like it was right there in front of me. So speaking about odysseys, some of them might be unexpected. So Vincent is going to come on stage and he's going to tell us all about it. Please join us. Big applause. Hopefully, when I press this button, your thing should take off. Look, it's working.
Wow.
I know.
Hi everyone. So my name is Vincent Manzoni. I'm a product designer at Société Générale investment banking since 2020. And I've specialized in design systems for about 3 years. If you've watched the previous editions of DSL, and I'm glad to be here at the first Parisian edition, you probably saw some of the people I'm working with. We had Morgan Peng on why we are not doing design system properly, and that's okay. And we also had Henry Daggett on how to survive design systems. They shared some great insights on the whole strategy, the mindset for design system. But now I'm going to zoom in a little bit and add more to their stories by talking about my unexpected odyssey of building a money input. And I think there will be some echoes with the Ledger team and their presentation as well. So to bring you through this journey, I try to show you what were the challenges and also the lessons I learned along the way. And well, this story happened after my first year when I joined the Design System Council. Basically, our council is 4 designers and a developer, and beside the usual work we are doing on projects, we focus on improving the design system and make it evolve. And when I joined, our design system was already pretty strong. It's based on Bootstrap. We have web components, so there is not really room to create new components. And even if we had a few ideas in our backlog, some things for more really specific needs, projects were not asking for them, and we had other priorities. Until one day, a request came in from one of the big projects we have to create an amount input component. And here, it's not just only about creating something new and releasing it. It's a component that is already widely used in our services. So our main goal was also to aim to replace the existing components, the ones that were custom made, with something standardized with more features that could benefit to everyone. And for me on paper, it was just a number and a box around it. So I agreed to add it to my scope and I started to do the study. And that's where the thing started, because as every design project, you probably know that, but it starts with a whirlpool of requirements. And there were some signs that I may have overlooked. This is a real screenshot from the requests. But to be honest, at this time, I was just like, okay, I've heard this. Developers are just being a bit dramatic. They were not. They were not. And yeah, so I started and I went with all of the requirements we had. And first things first, I benchmarked what was already existing in our services. I just took 2 examples to show you the variety of use cases we have in the bank. But basically, here we have a service for external clients. We need a big input, minimalist, simple. And at the top, we have something for the more advanced users. And here they need something compact. There are some hidden features and yeah, a bit more things. And after doing this study, I found 3 main features I have to work on. First one was to have a readable display to improve it. The second thing was adding features for the currency and the number positions, and also some keyboard shortcuts. But we'll get into the details. And let's start with the number. So when you write a large number like this, if you just use the raw number, it can be a bit complex to read it at a glance. And basic principle of psychology is just to split things by chunk and smaller chunks, and then you probably know it, but we have that with the conventions, spaces, dots, commas, all of those things that are here to separate the units and the decimals. And this first problem was actually having some dependencies, because those formattings, they depend on where you're located, on the language of the page, or even in some specific business contexts. So yeah, this time I started to see what I was going to go through, but hopefully we had actually one developer that told us, oh yeah, there is an already existing function that handled that. You just gave it a raw number, a location, and even a currency, and then it returns the string with the right format. Easy peasy. And here, as the Ledger team said, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. If there are no solutions in design, reach out developers and try to see someone probably already solved this problem. Second thing was about the currency number and the position, because I took some examples here from the different services, and you can see that sometimes the currency is on the left, sometimes it's on the right, sometimes we don't need to display the currency. And for example, also, same thing with the numbers. If we are in a table, we want all of the units aligned, and for that, we need to push the number to the right. Again, nothing complex here. We just created 2 new features. Okay, bit of accessibility problem, so refer to the screen to the side. But we created a property for the currency position and one for the number position. And here, one thing important is that we try to be consistent with the previous components we have in our design system and the way where they already work. As I said before, we are based on Bootstrap, and in their latest V5 version, they actually made a few changes on the wording. Instead of using left and right to position margin and everything, they use start and end. And this is actually interesting because it's good for internationalization on the pages and for languages where you read from right to left instead of left to right. This will have an influence on it. So yeah, be consistent in your design system. Third thing was keyboard shortcuts. This one is like the cherry on the cake for the component, because it's not something that you advertise or that is directly visible when you design, when you do use or design the component. But it was already implemented in a few services. It's actually a standard in finance, and we just decided to reuse it. And basically, instead of having to type the zeros and count the number of times you need to add them, you just hit K, M, or B, and it will add the corresponding number of zeros. So again, as well, one feature that was already developed in one project can now benefit to all of the projects. And yeah, I did my component on Figma. I tested it in some prototypes. I reviewed the features with the Design System Council. And I thought I was almost done. But at this moment, there were some new things that appeared that I called the Kraken of complexity. Because, yes, when we are designing on Figma or any design tool, we are actually limited to the things that are visual or, yeah. So when you need to create specifications that you will handle to developers to create the components, you will need to answer a lot more questions. The behavior, the interactions, the default state, and everything. I'm not going through all of those questions, but just to give you a quick summary of the fun things that happened. Yeah, we had fun with naming conventions, because for the currencies, they are actually the full name, they have the symbols, they have 3-letter code. So should we embed that in our component, or just left it to the projects and designers to decide what they want to use? The decimals also got more exciting, because depending on the currency, there are actually some standard number of decimals. Usually it's 2, but some have known and some have 3. And the last thing was also about the currency selection. In some projects, they actually wanted the user to be able to switch currencies easily. And we had this question, should we add this in the amount input component? But we finally decided to split it and have another component, a currency selector, but that's another story. So yeah, I tried to answer all of those questions. I was navigating in the dark waters. But at this point, I also realized something. We are not only designing for the end users, the one that will just enter the amount in the input. We're also working with the designers and the developers. They will actually use it, and we really need to think about the user experience of getting a component, understand what it can do, and then implement it in the project. Just to show you how it looked at this moment, for the design, so the 3 first properties are something that is shared on all of our inputs, pretty basic. And then we have things specific to our amount input. We can decide to show or not a value, otherwise it will be a placeholder or just nothing. We have a text slot for just to add the value. Same thing for the currency. And again, we took the currency and value position as well. And when you try to do that in code, there will be some limits. We'll try to stick as much as possible to what we did in Figma, but there are sometimes, and here it's what happened. For example, you can see that there are 2 currency properties. The first one is to get the right formatting, and the second one is actually to let projects just use whatever they want, if they want to use a symbol or another thing to name and to have the label next to the amount. There are also some things that you cannot add in Figma, things like the locale or the number of maximum decimals. And here, one thing we did before going to the code was we actually released the first version of the components on Figma, a beta version, just for our designer team, so they can test it and give us some feedback on it. So before finalizing the implementation, we could already see if there were some things to change. Yeah. That was it. After 3 months of hard work, we finally released the components. And yeah, I was relieved. I think that was time to celebrate. But as you can see, there is still something in the map. And I'm sure you already know what's it, but it's not the end when you build the components. It's actually just the start. What you really want is the component to be adopted and used in your project. And so, well, we released it, we communicated in our release notes with the design team, and they also told that to their projects. So slowly but surely, people started using it. And after, we had a fleet of tickets incoming. Because, yeah, it's only the first step when you release something, and we had a lot of questions of bug raised and even some conflicting things between the projects. But here, that's where you need to stay focused, because if you're not answering to those questions or bug issues, you will lose people and they will probably just use the custom ones they made. and you will not have the right adoption of your components. So that's why at the end we tackled all of those one by one. We tried to give some estimates and the deadlines for each of the new features that will be released. And we finally had something like this with new properties added. We had, again, more fun with the decimals displayed and other features to more specific projects. But is it really the end? Yeah, probably not, because as I was working on this talk, we actually did a refactor of the component to React first. And it was also a good sign, because people were using it, and it was one of the first components we added in the React first. So that was a sign it was good. And just to give you some quick takeaways from this journey, well, the first one is try to be realistic and beware of small components, just the text on a box. It's usually not just this, and it hides a lot of complexity. Second thing is, remember that you're not sailing alone. And yeah, the collaboration is key, because with the developers and with the designers, you will probably find a lot more and iterate better to find the final solution. And last but not least, manage your energy. I think I was really motivated. I wanted to prove something when I started to build this component. So I did a lot on the first iteration before releasing. But the real game is really after the release, and if you can adapt and make your component fit to all of the services that will try to use it. So yes. And finally, if there is someone that is asking you to make a component in a week, well, you can just share with them an article that will be released. I think it's released now on Medium. We also have great articles as well, but this one with more details on how it went and on this journey. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Vincent. I can confirm that this is live, because I just saw the post on LinkedIn, and so there you go. Things are happening in the DSL ecosystem. Oh, watch out! I never should have said that. Things are happening. Wow. I'm glad he finished the talk. So, you know, there's always a positive. Do we have any questions for Vincent and his odyssey? No questions. Very clear. In that case, I have a question for you. So somebody mentioned earlier about measuring. This is obviously, metrics is always interesting. How do we measure adoption? How do you measure adoption across design, or well, actually the components, but you know, across the different disciplines?
Yeah, great question. So actually, we have two things to measure. We can measure it on Figma, and for that, I think that there are some statistics. You can see which components are used on which project, and even if they are detached, and that probably means that designers are doing some things or some tweaks to the component, so there is probably something missing. That's one of the first things, and that's what we usually monitor when we release the component in beta and Figma. And then when the component is developed, we also add analytics on the usage for the different services. So we usually just monitor as well how it's used, which features are used in the different projects.
Let's see if this one works. Yes. Okay, great. Thank you. I've got another question here on the Slido. What are the main differences between the Figma properties and the web component ones?
Okay. Well, on Figma, we're for sure focusing on the visuals, how it looks like. There were things like the locale on the number of decimals that do not really matter, and you don't want to create too many variants on Figma that we'll have to maintain and change and adapt. So you can try to be and just stick to the things that will impact the visual and that will be useful for designers, because they will know how they can tweak it and change it to fit their needs. But then, yeah, we also do some trainings when we release new component to the team, so they can understand how it works in code and all of that.
Excellent, thank you. Oh, we have a question. It's live from the audience. Love it. Very faithful questions over here.
Still going back to your question, to your answer. How do you document that? The fact that it's not inside the Figma component, but there are some properties that exist and they need to be documented somewhere.
Oh, actually, in our official documentation, we stick to the code, I would say, the real components. And for Figma, I think it's mainly, we don't have that part on the documentation, so it's mainly just with the team, we're advertising the new component, showing what it could be done with it. But otherwise, it's not in the documentation. We'll only have the developed part and the real component.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We are going to move on. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Big round of applause. Thank you. So we have now reached our last speaker. When we started to kind of explore the Parisian design system community and the landscape, one of the first names that were told to me by more than one person, quite a few people, was Steve. The king of tokens, apparently. I just call him that, because it sounded good. And so, also because I need a segue. So we, as I said, we have gone from very broad and kind of big scale. We looked at something a bit more specific, and now we're going to go even more specific than to design tokens. So, without further ado, design tokens. Welcome, Steve.
All right. Switch hands. Yeah, so I'm pleased to be here. If you don't know me, I'm Steve. I've been an engineer for quite a while. I've been working on design systems for about 8 years now. I've been working in open source for 15, 16 years, and we're going to talk about open source and design tokens. So I'm sure that many people here are very familiar with design tokens because now they're kind of becoming mandatory in design systems, right? So all of us need to have our little tokens for our brands, and we need to create them and change them and like send them to our developers and make changes and not break everything and document them and all of that stuff, right? So it's a lot of tools. It's a lot of workflows that we need to build. And it's kind of amusing that, well, there are really only 2 tools that all of us use, right? And there are not that many others that have managed to grow and like build a user base and build recognition. And this is probably a sign of something, right? The fact that we only have Style Dictionary and Token Studio that are very, very much widespread is a sign that we are struggling with building the interoperability that we need. And I know for a fact that many teams, many engineers in particular, have built really cool stuff, lots of nice automations, right? We've seen just today, we've seen a design token documentation built in Storybook. This is something that's quite frequent, but people tend to keep it to themselves, right? And the reason for that is when we build all of these tools, we end up putting a lot of our own organization, our own team practices, our own knowledge, and our own ways of working into the tools just because it's easier. It's shortcuts that we take so that we can work faster. And at the end of the day, if we want to be able to share that to like other organizations, other teams, there's a bit of additional effort that we need to make. And the question is, how do we as a community design system practitioners, how do we make it so that we can reach that threshold a bit more easily? And there are 2 aspects to that conversation. We'll probably only have time for one because I've made way too many slides, so you will have to come to have a drink with us afterwards, right? And then you'll get the second part of the talk. The first one is, how do we, when we build design token tools, how do we apply them to more contexts? How do we generalize them to other contexts? And the second one is, when we have our little tools that we want to use, like Style Dictionary, Token Studio, I don't know, ledgers, documentation, how do we make sure that they work together? Right, and so we're going to explore 2 solutions to these 2 slightly different problems. So this is a pet project of mine. Been working on it for about 6 months, and the idea here is, my hypothesis for why we have so few public tools is we end up relying on way too many things that don't generalize well to other companies, right? So the way that we structure our design token files, right, the way that we organize our modes and themes and whatnot, We end up taking shortcuts. If I have this file in this specific folder, then it means that I have a mode for this specific platform. And then if I'm working with another theme, I don't have that file, so I don't have a mode. And then I've created a constraint, a coupling between how I think about mode availability and how I organize my data. And then if I want to take my tool to another team and they organize their files differently, they end up having to do some engineering work to reuse my tool. Right? Same thing with token taxonomies. Right? Of course, a surface token is a background token on this side of a room, and then a background token is a background token on that side of a room, because we don't name them the same way. Right? And then some people do Tailwind, some people do CSS, so we need to transform all our tokens and map them to what's available on a platform and how things are usually done on the platform. And all of that stuff, adds up. And what I believe we should try to do, and that's at this point it might sound a bit abstract, but we should try and find a way to separate the logic that we're creating in our tools, right? I want to display some types of tokens in a documentation, or I want to review whether some tokens interact with each other in a code base, from the specifics of what it means for a design token to be a background token, or what it means for a design token to come from a specific mode. And so the idea here is we're going to go through a bit of for a bunch of tools that we can see online, and we're going to see what kind of specific knowledge they've embedded in their tools and how we could generalize it. So here, for instance, we've got Datadog. I think it's one of the best design token documentation sites. It's very thorough, lots of customized stuff. And they've got CSS, they've got less, they've got TypeScript variables, they've got Figma variables, and we can see that there are different syntaxes on different platforms, right? So I could be saying design token is named so and so on Figma, and it's named so and so on CSS. Or I could be saying, in my platform, I have in my organization, I have these different platforms, and you can take the standardized DTCG design token name and translate it in that specific way to have the name on that platform. And if I just go through this little layer of generalization, then anybody can come with their own new platform, or they can come with their own way that they prefer to name CSS variables, because people have opinions on that. And then we can see as well a bunch of things that we'll get back to, right? There's a little bit of a preview here, a different way of showing design tokens. These are size design tokens. And if you look carefully here, you can see as well that because these are spacing tokens, they also have a representation that actually shows the use of space, right? It's not just a square blob. It actually shows it in context, and it makes it easier to understand. Right, so this is the Front Television documentation for design tokens. It's built on Astro. We can see here that we have different subtypes of tokens, right? So for border radiuses, we have our own preview system that we use. And we can see as well that we have a bunch of different token names, which come from different platforms as well. Right, and then we have another type of design token, and we have another preview type. Now, both of these, border radius and spacing and the padding here, they're all considered size tokens, right? If you just look at the standard and what we have in the tools that we use, they're the same token type. But we don't want to show them in the same way, right? So we want to have this generalization. I want to be able to say that spacing around in my company is a padding. Even though most companies are going to call them paddings, right? And then we can go into a bit more detail. So I apologize for the projector. It's it's contrasted. So this is Node Health. They have background and foreground colors, and specifically when they have foreground colors, they compute contrast colors against a specific background. So here we have different types of color tokens, and we are exploiting a relationship between these different types that also don't exist in a DCCG. And we can go on. So this is the backmarket documentation. We can see that we have links to primitive tier tokens that are used in documentation. And then if we look at Pinterest Gestalt, we can see as well a little subtext below the previews. We can see that we have links as well to primitive tokens. And more interestingly, we can see that there's an awareness of mode sources, right? So this first token on the first line doesn't have a dark mode value. Right, so the team that builds this documentation, they have managed to retain the information that this specific token only exists in light mode. And this is valuable information as well, right? If you want to show documentation on a multi-mode, on a white label system, it's kind of useful to explain how tokens are inherited. This helps a lot with debugging and understanding why a value is not the way that you wanted it to. Right, and then this is one favorite of mine. So we built at France Télévisions, we built a token diff algorithm, which allowed us to build a bunch of services. So here, for instance, when we change a token on Token Studio, we go through building our design tokens for all 20-ish platforms that we have, and then we end up seeing how values change on different platforms. So here, for instance, we know that for Outremer, which is a overseas news website, we can see that the specific 2 tokens were added with the specific colors in the specific modes. And I cannot begin to tell you how many times this little diff algorithm has saved our asses. Like, we've made so many mistakes. We changed the wrong file. We have a bug in a color transform library. We have a casing bug that doesn't work with Tailwind or with SAS or whatever. Like, this has been extremely useful. Then, of course, we can use that. We can have a bit more of like semantic reasoning, but this is very workflow specific. We consider that a breaking change for us is when we remove a token, right? If a platform has a token but just disappears because we've removed it or because we've reorganized our files and somehow, we've lost it, we want to make sure to bring it to the attention of the designers before they press a button and send it to production, right? In other teams and other contexts, you might want to say, well, this is the bunch of tokens that have changed values, and I want to go and see in which files they were used, in which projects or products they were used, and I want to send a message to engineers before I send to production. So this might be a different workflow that you want to build on top of that information. Right, and then of course, well, I mean, if we have a token diff algorithm, we can generate change logs, and then we no longer have to do it by hand, which is really cool. And so on and so forth. And of course, if you are aware of all the different values and syntaxes that your tokens have on all your different platforms, you can build a search engine, and you can go from your DevTools where you have a stranded value that doesn't make any sense, and you can figure out what might be the source for that value. So these are all tools that have been built in the past. There's a bunch of others that I'd like to have time to show. And all of these tools rely on information about platforms, about the specific semantics and meanings attached to them, about the modes that I use, which to some extent is different from organization to organization. And my goal here is, can we consolidate all of that data, all of that knowledge that forms our dependencies into a generic, reusable format, so that we can have, on the one end, people creating design tokens, and on the other end, people creating tools, and we meet in the middle, and we stop all this wastage of building things in our corner. So this is the pet project I've been working on. The token listing format is a format that bridges together the information that you have in your source tokens that you're storing in whatever tool you like, really, and the information for your tokens that are built on your different platforms. So as I'm sure you're aware, Style Dictionary is the most commonly used tool for transforming tokens and deploying them to code bases. If you're using something else, there's a 95% chance that they're using Style Dictionary. So you are using Style Dictionary. There's an alternative, of course. Terrazzo. Terrazzo is built by a design system engineer at Figma. And, well, I guess I'm a contributor as well. So we're going to talk about that. And, of course, well, the folks at Style Dictionary, the folks at Terrazzo are all involved in the W3C. So it's all of it's a community of sharing and building together and figuring out problems. And we're quite happy with that. So we all start here, right? We have our tokens. It doesn't really matter where you get them from, a bunch of options. And then at some point, when you want to switch to code, when you want to switch to production, or you just want to, handle multiple platforms, even sometimes go back to Figma, you're going to need to translate them, right? And that translation is very often these two tools. And so what we're going to be doing with token listing is we're going to have this joint format supported in Terrazzo and supported in Style Dictionary that outputs the same data. And then we're going to have tools that are going to use this format to provide services, right? So we're going to build design token documentation in Storybook. I'm going to do it, so I can make the claim. We're going to build a token diff algorithm as well. So this is implemented. It's going to go live at some point. We're definitely going to build a MCP server for design tokens. And in fact, this whole project started with Graham Lipp's Figma MCP server. So we wanted to have a way for him to translate Figma variables into the names that are used in code in a way that is more reliable than just letting the LLM guess. And of course, I've seen a few documentation sites, and I know that some people also dabble in token scripts. I want to see more tools out there that use this format because that's what it's about. So this is now, yeah, you've been lulled, you've been brought here, and you thought that you were going to escape it, but this is now the moment where we're going to look at code together. So I told you that like the key value of this listing format is that we can translate names between platforms, right? So of course, on the left-hand side, on all the following slides, you're going to have like the configuration in Terrazzo. On the right-hand side, you're going to have the outcome. And we can see here that we want to have our design tokens expressed in CSS and Figma. We're going to use the default naming available for CSS in Terrazzo, but we could customize it. And we're going to build a very complicated algorithm to figure out the Figma name. And then we can see here that for our color black 100, we have the two different names that appear in the way that we expect them. And now we're able to bridge together the name in Figma and the name in CSS with an authoritative source. We're also going to want to track modes in our software. And this piece of information is critical when you build documentation. You need to figure out what modes you have, what default value you should apply, what different values you should provide, right? And this is exactly the select where you're going to switch, you're going to select your theme, you're going to select your device, and you want that in Storybook as well, of course. And then we can carry that information over and we can say, well, look, this is color black 100 and this specific value comes from the light mode. And then this is size spacing SM and this specific value comes from the mobile mode, right? And the ability to track that information becomes very useful when you build documentation, because if you don't track it throughout all your tools, at some point you end up just, and anyone who's used Style Dictionary will know that, you end up with just this massive build output and you just have the values. And you can't even really tell if like your size tokens, your spacing tokens, or your padding tokens, you can't really tell if they are impacted by your breakpoints. Right? If you want to know that, you need to go back to the source data, and it's just kind of cumbersome and it creates doubt. So it's good to be able to have that information. This token comes from that specific mode, and you know why. I've talked a lot about the different types of relationships we have between colors and size tokens. So we've come up with a list of subtypes that are commonly used. This is out of an audit of a lot of leading platforms. So very obviously, if people want to add stuff to that list, they can get in touch and we can talk. But we figured that just having this information here allows you to basically map the way that you name your tokens in your taxonomy with the way that you want to exploit your tokens in prod, right? And then you can have nicer previews. If you're doing Tailwind, you can tell that your border colors are the ones that are going to go into border dash something and so on, right? This is actually critical for Tailwind. Yeah, so, just continuing, of course, whenever you have a design tokens, you want to have a value that you can just display on a web product, that you can display on an ID in a little plugin when you hover on a variable name. So it's just useful to have a preview value. So we also make sure that you have a CSS compatible value for every token that you pass through the format. We make sure to keep track as well of the source files that you have. So then if you want to build a link back to your design token creation software or to your GitHub or GitLab repository where you store your data, then you can build that link back and you can go back and see the source and edit it a bit faster. We're tracking as well and this is where I should say, I've said it, I hope, but this is an alpha version, so there's still going to be a bunch of changes. But we also want to make sure that we track the aliases back to lower tiers of design tokens that you've been using, so that you can build that whole chain in your tools and you can figure out at what level you want to intervene when you need to change a token. So this information is provided as is for now. There might be a few syntax changes before we go 1.0, we'll see. And yeah, the idea behind that is we want to make sure that you, as users of design token tools, you no longer have to go through configuring every tool yourselves, and you don't have to go through transforming your data and then mapping your configuration between different tools, but that there's one way that you can configure a bunch of tools that you'll use. And of course, for developers, it's a lot nicer not to have to build all of that input, all of those config options, and just support a format that is, version, that has a JSON schema, and that is somewhat consistent and predictable, and that has implementations as well. So please try it. Please take your phones out and screen that if you want to participate, if you want to give feedback, if you want to try it, if you need help. This is something that is probably going to go 1.0 in a few months, so there's still time to weigh in and try it out. And that concludes part 1. I'm now going to look to Luis and ask him, how many minutes do I have left? 2. Okay. Part 2 is going to be at the pub. Just a little teaser, just so you know. The W3C has come up with a new way of representing design tokens that allows you to basically better map I'm just going to switch a little bit. This is all the cool stuff that we won't talk about. And here we go. Right, so the idea is to make sure that you have a unique way of representing all of your source tokens and how they combine together to build your outputs, right? And a lot of that is you have sets of tokens that you want to merge together. And again, if you've built design token pipelines, you know that every tool has a different way of including and merging tokens, and it can be a mess. And this is also a way that you can represent modes, right? So you can say, well, this is my color scheme mode, and by default it's light, and then you load those files, and then this is the alternative is dark, and you load those other files. And it allows us to build cool stuff like this is out of battery, like this, right? So this is a live product that we have on the Terrazzo repo, where you can basically switch your different modes, where you can select different modes, and you have your build output that is just available for you. And because this is a W3C community standard, this is what every tool is going to be doing in 6 to 12 months, right? So it's just going to be nicer for all of us, and it's going to make it easier for us to combine tools. And if you want more details, we can talk more about it at the pub. And I'm going to stop here. Thank you.
Do we have any questions for Steve? I feel like there's a lot of questions. Okay, I have it. If someone wants to participate, I know you had a code there for feedback, but what if I want to gain on it? What do I do?
What if you want to, sorry?
What if I want to gain on it? What if I want to participate? Is that a possibility?
Absolutely. So we are just going to go back. We might not be able to go back. I think this is dead. So we're going to go forward instead. Yeah, it's fine. It's probably going to appear at some point. Right, so the W3C resolver spec, it's a DTCG project. So DTCG is a community group for the W3C. It's not an official standard. It's something that people like you can participate to. So there's a GitHub repo, and people ask questions and make proposals, and then we debate them for 1 or 2 years, and then we make a decision, and then things happen. It's powered by a lot of the people that you'd expect in the community, including Figma, Token Studio, Style Dictionary, which is the same team as Token Studio now, and a bunch of other people. And it is absolutely open to everyone. So you can go and ask questions there, and you can go and make proposals, and you can go and challenge ideas as well. The resolver spec is slightly outside of W3C DTCG for now, because we want to be able to move faster, and we want to be able to make mistakes without being held accountable. So we're building it as a joint format between Style Dictionary and Terrazzo. So there's an RFC, the QR code, if you manage to get it in time, there's an RFC pointing to the Style Dictionary repo, and then that's where we discuss the schema and the different versions, and that's where you can get news on the token listing.
Excellent. Any further comments? No? Well, in that case, thank you so much. I know you had a lot to go through, but big applause. Thank you. I'll take this. Let's see if we get the magic back on the other one. They are so good. Well done. Thank you so much. As they pointed out, there is obviously continuing the discussions in the pub, and there are many to be had. But before we get there are a couple of other things to wrap up before. So we've been through the unexpected odyssey. We looked at the design tokens. Now, first of all, I need to say some huge maxis, thank yous. I want to say a massive thank you to Ledger and Carl and his team for hosting us. It has been superb, très bien, all of that. I want to say a massive thank you to our speakers. First of all, I want to thank them so much for spending the time with Victoria and me on calls to prepare for this, and for putting this together, and for joining us here, and for giving us this amazing talk. So thank you so much, speakers. I must also obviously say thank you to YLD for always supporting us organising this, and I want to say thank you to everyone in a YLD t-shirt, especially to Victoria, because she is the logistic, the brain behind the scenes that you don't see. I'm just a pretty face. Okay, that wasn't a joke. That was absolutely 100% true. So massive thank you to Victoria for all of her hard work. And then obviously I also need to say thank you to the community. We are very proud of our Design System London community, and now I'm also very proud of our Design System Paris community. Very, very good. So, to show you, this is the tiniest token of appreciation, but I'm going to do my Oprah moment now. I need my glasses for that. So we took all of the people that came here this evening, we just put them in a massive hat, conceptual hat, and then we just pulled out some names, and for those people, I have the ever so tiniest token of our appreciation token. See what I did there. So let's see. Do we still have? Oh, this is the. I just realized I put myself in a really awkward situation because I'm not going to butcher everybody's names. So everyone's thinking like, oh my God, that guy is so nice and Design System London is so lovely, and then I say the name wrong. Apologies in advance. Do we have Toko-kan Saki still here? Yes, we do. Amazing. Here, Victoria. Sorry, I've hidden them. They're over this side, under that pillow. Please. Sorry, this is this. Thank you so much for coming. Come. This is the slowest ever. There you go. Thank you so much. There is a little surprise there for you as a token, showing off. Thank you. Just to say, they are limited edition. So remember that. One day, they're going to be worth something. And now, they also worth something. Do we have Tristan Nivol still here? Tristan, guess what you're getting? Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for your support. Do we have Catherine Stolarski? Yes, of course we do. I knew she was here because I was chatting to her earlier, and I was like, I recognize this name. Okay, thank you. I'll take this one. Okay, thank you. This is for you. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you. I know. You think, oh my God, they're so lucky. Don't worry, we have two more. Okay, so do we have Valentine Pierre? See how I tried to make that sound a bit French. Thank you. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you so much for joining our community. And so last but not least, do we have Noé Martineux? Also very, sorry, apologize for the French. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you. So as I said, these are limited edition bags. So yes, for the rest of you who didn't get one, I am sorry, but also not sorry. So again, I think I thanked everybody. Should we also just have this place so you know where to go, by the way? Oh no, this came up again. How awkward. Just gonna take one last second to plug this. Well, I can. So if you haven't been to this yet, please go ahead. Yeah, look, now the funds are out. That means you didn't do it earlier. So it was a good thing that just happened to appear again by accident. I'll leave that in for a bit longer. Excellent. You know who to vote for. Keep scrolling. Find the best event and just keep scrolling. Don't know why they put us all the way there. Okay, so yes, Design System 14. Well, this is 13. This is our next one. It is in London. So if you happen to be in London, you should definitely come and join us. And if you've never been to London, what better opportunity to go to London than to visit DSL again? So these tickets will go live on the 9th of October, 12 p.m. I'm very proud of this because in London, they tend to go quite quickly. So I tell you, one time, Beyoncé did her sellout at the same time as we did, and we sold out faster. Just want to point that out. Yeah, so no shade on Beyoncé. So, thank you so much for joining us again. And this is the place where we're going. Le Carly, Rue Saint-Martin. It's here in Paris. Thank you. Bonsoir.